Okay, welcome to egr125 week 12. We want to do an HMI program today, and to do an HMI program we're going to open up the software and then we're going to step through and do the various parts that I want you to look at. Remember, we're getting familiar with it, not being experts, but I want to show you some of the things. Kind of hard to type. It's a little easier just to do a video. So I'm going to double click software, see more micro programming. Hopefully you've got it loaded on your system. Anytime you open it, you get this screen. First thing it's going to ask you to is make a new project. You can read one from disk, or if you are connected to the panel, you can read one from the panel. We're just going to make a new project. We can name the project, and we're going to call it week 12 EGR, and put my name on it so I know it's me, Jim D. Our panels in the lab are EA1S6ML, so I'm going to select that protocol. Whether I want it to be landscape or portrait, probably landscape most of the time. If you've got your panel mounted in a portrait fashion, then you could actually change it. As far as protocol, I think DirectNet works the best. The automation DirectNet sequence will probably work, but we're talking about for DL05 or DL06, we got to make sure we get that processor. These HMIs come paired with the PLC, and I've got that, and I can click OK, and it is creating me a project, and what comes up is a blank screen. Now what we want to do is, last time we just did buttons and switches, but we want to look at some of the different things we can do. And if I scroll down on this side, you can see that I can put in a function, adjust contrast. I've got all these options. I can put in a real-time graph, line graph, analog bar graph. I can put in a keypad entry, increment and decrement the value. I can have a numeric display, graphic indicator light, a graphic indicator light, an indicator light, push buttons. We want to be a little more advanced with this, so what we want to do is we want to potentially do some trend data or something like that. Of course, we want to have an indicator light saying our process is running. And the key to this, when you're dealing with a PLC, is to know what addresses or what memory locations on the PLC you're wanting to use to send to the HMI, and then the HMI will just display whatever you tell it. So if I do a graphic indicator light, then you have different options that you can select. If you do just a plain indicator light, you have other options that you can select, and then you can go in and make it. So it's almost too many options. What we want to do is we want to stay simple. So indicator light, we'll get the default. I'm going to click on it and should be able to drag and drop it. Yep, I'm going to drag and drop it. So it's doing that. It put it in my project. Right there it is, and it's the default. I can simulate it. I can change my frame style from style 1 to style 2 if I want to. If I don't like square, I should be able to make it round. I can change the theme a little bit. I can just have it lined. So what I want you to do with this HMI program is just come up with some I/O. You're going to want to label your real world inputs as the X's that will correspond to your PLC. When you get to the PLC class, you can use the HMI. You know, one of the software programming examples in the PLC class is build a stoplight. So a good exercise would be, hey, let's build a stoplight. We could do an east and west and north and south. So here's my indicator light. I can have my off text, I can have my on text, I can have different colors. This is a monochrome, so I think our color options are somewhat limited. But let's see what we got. Yeah, normal and inverse. So I can have it change. When my light is on or off, I can say no text if I want to. If my light is on, I can say whatever text it's on. So I can say running. For a stoplight, you could do stop, caution, and go for that matter. So anytime the button is on, it will be a go. Okay. Click on my option, object visibility, and object is visible when address value is, so you can have this thing pop up only if something's running. For instance, you can hide this button unless a bit in the PLC, a tag if you will, is set, and then it's running, something's on. So I can have my light off. I could actually have 3 lights stacked up, one on top of the other, and just have them visible when they're actually on. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go back to here and then tag name. If you have tag names, you can pull them out of the pull down menu. If you don't have tag names, it will let you create them. If I click on that little box, I don't know if you missed that or not, so let's cancel. If I click on the box with the 3 dots, it comes up with a tag name database. See the PLC address. This will be huge. So let's go with some tags here. We want to add a tag. By default, it's going to make it tag number 3, and it's going to be device 001. So I can have one internal to the HMI, or I can have whatever device it's set at, and then I can choose whether it is a discrete tag, which is an on-off. And if I pick the right thing, I think I can get it to where it's a word. Since I'm a light, it's either on or off. That's typically discrete. Here at the bottom, I have the opportunity to make it easy for memory address. So I know I'm going to be talking to a DL06. So if I want different inputs, then I just select them. Interruptions. Phone rang, sorry about that. So an input would be an X from my PLC, an output would be a Y. So if I knew my output for this light was going to be Y0, I could just put it in Y0 and add it. I get a error because I did not name the tag. So whatever I want this to be. So this could be a motor on, for instance. Now I've got that tag forevermore. While I'm there, I can add all the tags I want in one place, and then when I add devices, I can then associate a tag with that device. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. I've got on text, off text. I can change the color a little bit. I can change the font a little bit to make it bigger size or smaller. I can have effects, font effects, so I can make things bolder if I want to. Normally, I would suggest you stay with basic, generic, and then if you want to play with one thing at a time and go into a little more complexity. I can align it. So, and as I move it around, you see that the go is moving. So I can align it wherever I want to. within my button, select the one I want, that one's centered. We're good to go. Tag name motor on, click OK, and then I've got it. Let's do a numeric entry. And then you've got to select the one you want. Which one do you want? Let's go with this one. We will drag it in. Okay, numeric entry, frame style, showing no frame. It's just going to be a number. Function key assignment. I can assign it to a function key in order to pull it up, I believe. Haven't tried that one yet. I can put a label on there, font color, and this is sort of important, the display format. Data type is unsigned decimal. I can do octal, I can do hex, and I can tell it up front how many digits I have. If it's comma separated, that kind of thing. Tag, probably want a tag. When I go here and I want to add, it's telling me it's getting it from the device 001, which is the PLC, my tag name, and it's telling me that it's going to be a BCD integer 16. For DL06, you've got that option. For the 05, I don't think you do. Depends on the PLC. This is one of the issues with displays that you have to kind of work through. The PLC display that you're wanting to display on your HMI, everything's got to be in the same format. So you've got to pay attention to where you're at. So BCD integer 16, tag name can't be empty, so what do we want to call this? Water level. Memory, since we're now into the words, it has to be a word. In the PLC we're dealing with, that would be a V memory location, and in your PLC you have to also go back and say, okay, what memory locations are available. The ones that stick in my mind are like 4,000 and above, so V4000 should be a good memory location for a word. And now I've got a tag name for my water level. So it's telling me it's BCD integer, it's telling me what address. So in my PLC program, if I want something to display on a number, I can enter it. Whatever word my PLC program writes to V4000 will display on my HMI. It's that easy. Okay, what are my options? Same thing. I can have it appear when I want it. I can make the number of digits longer or shorter. So we should be okay with that. Okay, I can make it bigger and smaller if I want to as well. So I can make it as big as I want. I can move it around and position it on my screen. Should be able to do the same thing with the button. So you can build whatever you want to, and that's what we want to do here. Was that numeric entry? That was numeric display. What if I want to do numeric entry? I'm going to drag one of those in there. Gives me my style. I'm just going to go ahead with that. It's unsigned decimal, number of digits. Number of digits. I can make it 4. It's talking about the style. Now it wants a tag. So what we want to do is we want to do a second one, and we will do water set point, if you will. Again, you got to keep track of your data type. And usually if you're using V4000, you need to leave 2 numbers. So if you start on 4000, make sure you go to 4002, because it's 16 bits, so it's taking 2 spots. So that last one we did that was 4000 was 4000, 4001, and this will be 4002 and 4003 by default. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to OK that. I'm going to OK that. So there is my numerical entry. Now whatever I type into the keyboard here will be put into the PLC program at that number. In the PLC program, I can then take that number and do something with it. So this is how we get data out of the PLC and display it for the operator, and this is how we put numbers into the PLC that the PLC can then use. You can do program control, that kind of thing. Let's make this a little bigger. Okay, I want to simulate the project. So I've got a couple things going. I want to simulate it, so let's save it. And it's going to ask me for my file name. I already got one. So then I want to simulate it. So we're going to compile it and see what kind of issues we got. Okay, so now I have my screen here. So this particular simulation, I'll move my windows around so I can see everything. I have the chance now to change values. So my Y0 is currently off. If I click there, I should be able to make it on, and then enter. Come on. Okay, you gotta use capital letters. So when I put it on, you see that over here on the screen it changed. So I can see what my buttons are gonna do when they change states. Then I can always go back in and adjust them and make them what I want. Up here you see that I have a number, but it is not displaying. So I can come over here to my water level value, highlight it, and say it was 4 digits, so I can say 2345, and then enter. And so if it goes to the PLC, pulls the number 2345, then you've got it. Okay, now what I just did, I want you to see, this was a numeric entry keypad. So anytime I have numeric entry keypad, I push the button literally on the panel. So I'm pushing it now with the mouse arrow for that matter, and then I can type in a 4-digit number, and then I can enter it. And you see that it changed over here. It sent that value to the PLC. So there's talking back and forth between the HMI and the PLC. One thing about this touch panel that you need to know about is when I call it back up, it's going to show me the last number I entered, so you want to clear it before you enter another number. So that's a 36. If I call it back up and just start typing, you see that all it's doing is adding. So clear it, or you could backspace. Again, personal preference. And there we go. So I've got a button that's on off. See what it does. I've got, you can make it do changes and light and different things, and then I've got numeric keypad entry, and then just a plain old display. Okay, I want to exit the simulation. I want to add a graph, and I'm going to let's do an analog meter. Yep. Okay, I got an analog meter. It's going between 0 and 100%. I can do major and minor divisions, which is major divisions is where you see a number, minor divisions is how many you've got between it. So let's go back to 2. So there we go, that's more like a speedometer. minimum and maximum display. So if I want it to be 0 to 9999, I can do that. My meter movement, clockwise or counterclockwise, my needle, and then I've got different styles down here if I want different styles. Okay, my tag name, what I'm going to do is I want to recycle one. I want to recycle the water set point. Okay, then I'm going to just click OK. Then I'm going to move that around. Going to hit save. And then I'm going to simulate again. It's got a COM pilot. Okay, everything went back to 0. Off all that stuff again. So if I come over here and type this on, I get that button. If I go into my PLC memory and put in a number, it shows. But what I wanted to show you is what's happening here. I should be able to put in a number and then hit enter, and you see that my meter bounced a little bit. It bounced from up to 256. Well, this first line is 1,000 because in 4 digits I can enter anywhere from 0 to 9999. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to do 8,000, and you see that I am at 8,000. And so what you see is that it's using whatever I enter I got. So if I have a set point coming from a PLC, say a process variable, this is how you do it. You could set up a chart and you could have it display, graph, whatever you wanted, and get that value. So clear, and go to 5,000. We're about mid-range. Okay, distraction, so I had to pause it. I may be able to change it here also if you want to simulate what happens. Yep, actually it changed on both, so you can change it on the screen like you would if you were the operator. You can change it over here. So kinda neat. One or two little things. What about a start button? I never have done increment decrement values, so let's go with this. And we will let's increment and decrement. And we'll assign that to my set point. So everything should be good. Save it and simulate it. So now what I'm doing is I can click here, enter a number. Everything's good, and if I can go up and down with that number. Now the thing to try is, can I do it with this number right here? Ooh, it's going to let me enter a number there too. Yep, it let me enter a number. It's numeric entry. Did I do 2 numeric entries? Okay. Or did I do display? Let's see. No, it's numeric display and numeric entry. Oh, they were both numeric entries. I wanted just the display. So let's do that. Numeric display. Get up to 4. And do the tag water level. Okay, so I can enter my water level here, display it here, and then here I can enter a number I'm displaying on the graph. So we're going to save it and we're going to simulate it. I did not realize I did 2 numeric entries. So see, this is just dead. I can't do anything. If I go over here, I enter a number 09999. It shows up. Can't do anything. Over here, I can enter a number. It shows up on there, and then I can increment and decrement the number. And it looks like if I hold it down, it's not speeding up significantly fast. Okay. Just some things you can't really go wrong. Tri-state switch means it'll be in 3 different states. So it can be on, off, push button. Got different push buttons. They're actually kind of odd. I can have a push button do different things, but I can't have it actuate, say, an X0. So if I add number 4, I can say an input. So you can take your GUI, your HMI, and you can do inputs, input 0, and then tell it to go to X0, and then click OK. I can tell it to go to X0, and then when X0 is pushed, or the button is pushed, it will put an input into my PLC. Don't have to hardwire it. I just tell it, and it goes to that memory location. So you have a lot of different things. I can set my object to toggle. I can set it to be momentary on. I can set it to set. So it will toggle between on and off as the default. So when I push the button, it will go to its other state. When I push it again, it will go to its other state. So let's OK that. Save it. And simulate. It should go between off and on. I should be able to push it with my push button. Yep. So you can see what the button does. Off has that text, on has that text. You can, all that's changeable. It's just do whatever you want to. So trying to get you used to it. So good project for a PLC is to build it a stoplight. So you'd have 3 lights. Green, north-south, red, north-south, yellow, north-south, green, and then east-west, green, yellow, and red. You could have this HMI program ready for when you take the PLC class. You can connect it up to your DL05, and this can be your output for your stoplight. Kind of a neat concept. Anyway, I think that's enough. Basically, imagination is the limit with this. So let me get my recording, and we will stop it. Thanks for watching.